Here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick video about the Fold and Flip 6, and that's because I'm enjoying both of these immensely. I'll include a link in the description for those of you interested in picking one up. And what I can tell you is that it is very surprising that and kind of ironic that here much of the internals were not upgraded from the Fold 5 to the Fold 6. I'm not saying we didn't get a new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, we did, but not a lot else changed under the hood. It was really about the new cover display being 6.3 from 6.2 inches, and the new internal display having a new aspect ratio, even if it retained the 7.6-inch size. It was really, again, all about design language and matching the S24 Ultra. And I think it's great that they've done that. The phone got lighter. It's more durable with its dust rating now. However, camera stayed the same, battery stayed the same. The actual crease is less noticeable. The phone is much lighter, which I think is great. So I can easily recommend this phone, and I think surprisingly, it just handles better, and anyone who is a generational Fold user will absolutely love this and really feel like it has come into its own with this redesign. On the flip side, and I'm not trying to be cute, the Flip 6 retains the exact same aesthetic design language from last year, but the internals totally revamped. Yes, the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip. We've moved from 8 to 12 gigs of RAM. We have a larger battery. We have new cameras. We, of course, also get the new hinge that's more durable. The same benefit of a less noticeable crease. Again, I don't think the creases on either of these are a big deal, but they are both less noticeable from previous generations. I can say that because I've used every other generation. But again, even though this phone looks the same, the internals are all revamped. So these are like polar opposites, if you will. Looks completely different. Not a lot has changed under the hood. Looks exactly the same. Everything has changed under the hood. And then we have the rumor of the Fold Slim around the corner, or Ultra, or Pro, or whatever they're going to call it. And basically, it builds off of this Fold, of course. And this gave me, a little bit of reservation about buying this phone if that's going to come out, and then I'm going to wish I would have waited. I hate it when manufacturers do that. If they lay out a roadmap, at least we can make educated decisions. I'll say educated enough to figure out what we want. And I say that because I've been waiting for Samsung to make the kitchen sink fold like Gen 1. Give us the best cameras, the best of everything. That is not what is going on here. We have no revamp in the cameras except for the wide-angle 12 megapixel on this generation. We have the exact same battery size. That leaves a lot to be desired, but then the piece de resistance was that we're still capped at 25-watt charging. I mean, realistically, it's 2024. This phone should be able to fully charge at least twice the rate by now, and you can look to Chinese manufacturers for evidence of that, or, well, every other device that has rapid charging here in 2024. So it leaves a lot to be desired, and I think the Fold Ultra Plus, whatever they call it, or Slim, granted it's not rumored to be much slimmer than this, it's going to have an 8-inch internal display, a 6.5-inch cover display. They're supposedly going to drop the digitizer for pen input. If that is something they need to do in order to give me the best of everything, I'm willing to give up the S Pen, because after all, Samsung still has not perfected a way to carry the S Pen with this, because I still cannot stand the S Pen case. Yes, it's improved over the previous generation, but it is still not the case of choice for me. If you noticed, right now I've got just a Aramid case with MagSafe capability, and that is the way to go for me personally. But if that Slim does become realized in Asia as it is supposed to be later this year, around October, when they launch the Tab S10 Ultra as well as the S25 Ultra, their new flagship. If that is when they launch it, it's supposed to be that they're aiming to sell 250,000 to 500,000 units in Asia. So figure South Korea, China, and Japan are going to be the main markets. And if it's not going to end up here, I won't be upset. But if they do launch it here and it ends up being a couple $100 more than this phone, it's going to upset me, especially when I do feel it's time for this to have more RAM, especially now that the Flip has 12 gigs of RAM. Give us at least 16. I mean, this has been a computer in our pockets for years, but now it is more realized than ever. And when it comes to cameras, I want new cameras, of course, like all of you. It's not that these cameras are bad. They are improved over the 5, and I mean every single one, even the underscreen 4 megapixel, just because of the new processor. The DSP does make a difference, no question. But when it comes to having basically the best of everything, this phone should have it. And if that's what they end up doing with the Fold Plus, Slim, Ultra, Pro, whatever the hell they call it, then at least we're moving in the right direction. And I'm okay with having new tiers and then making this a more affordable Fold down the road. Now, if they keep this price and just make the other one over $2,000, I think they're going to have their hands full, because people complain about the pricing on these enough, even though I think it's irrational complaining. And I say that because when you look at other flagship devices that are all still over $1,000 and they cannot do what these two devices can, that's giving fresh, top-tier premium money to stale, old crap, in my opinion. And too often that is done. Apple's the biggest offender, and that is just continuing. It's as if EVs would never be launched. Let's put it that way. You know, if electric cars never came about, and it just meant that the combustion engine business just kept making more and more profits, which is what we were going through, that's not a competitive market. That's a crap one. So I liken it to that, because as long as manufacturers get away with traditional candy bars that this has reinvented at premium prices that are the same or more than this, it's despicable. And I think that's part of why Samsung bumped up the specs on this guy for only $100 more, is because this should be able to knock off flagship devices like the iPhone. It really should, unless brand loyalty is more important than the actual experience you have with your device. Just saying. So I think Samsung's done a great job here. I hope we do get that Fold Ultra, Fold Slim, whatever, because just getting, a new aspect ratio with higher peak brightness on both the internal and external display, that's good. But there's a way to make it even better, and that's a bigger display, more resolution, and presumably even higher brightness levels. And if they can even make it thinner, well, then they're really onto something. And that may encompass a different design altogether. We don't know yet. I presume it's going to be similar. I think that's what this new hinge is all about. I think that's what the design language change is all about, is that this was a way to reduce weight and make the phone thinner, and we're going to see that in a more premium design. And when they do it, and it does come to the US, you better believe I will be on board. Because as much as I love this phone, I've said it over and over again, I'm waiting for a bigger device, and if they can make it thinner and lighter or the same weight, improve the cameras, improve everything, and really just make it the most powerful device on the market. Not just the most powerful foldable device, but most powerful, period, the end. That's the way they deliver something that will command even more money. All right, Barkley is calling me, so I guess that's where I'm going to wrap it. These are both great devices. I absolutely love the new Fold design, as does my wife. Both of us kind of thought this was just going to be more of the same, but it's a game changer for us. And again, I close by saying, if you've owned multiple generations of the Fold and you're coming from something like the Fold 5, you are going to see the handling difference. You're going to absolutely feel like it's a new device, literally and figuratively, and that is huge. On the other hand, if you're picking up the new Flip, just know it's going to be a much better phone in terms of internal specifications and overall performance, because now its performance is literally on tier with the Fold, which I never would have thought for the price gap difference. But that to me is that signaling that Samsung is all in on making this a flagship killer. The question is, how much of its own S25 Ultra and S24 Ultra that's already out will it cannibalize? Because after all, this thing's a bargain at $1,100. Then get those trade-ins going, and that's a different story altogether, because these devices, I mean, in the realm of trade-ins, you're talking about, for the Fold, just to refresh, the 1 terabyte model I have was around $700 with my Fold 5 trade-in, and the Flip 6, you're looking at roughly $400 trading in your Flip 5. So for everyone who keeps saying these are such expensive devices, they are if you're not trading anything in. But if you're in the ecosystem and trading in year over year, you don't have to do it every single year. That's the good news. You can skip a generation. Samsung still takes care of you. I just think they're both excellent, and as I've mentioned over and over again, I welcome an even more premium version, because that will also drive prices down for both of these devices over time, especially if they make an ultra version of the Flip as well. And they might be getting there. And they also had to be more competitive, I might add, before I close this, even though Barkley stopped, because competition is getting closer, like Motorola, to undercutting this device. So if they don't really throw the kitchen sink into their flip, it might be ready to fold. Bump. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them at that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe and please stay safe. Later.